Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. This is a recruiting scoop with Justin Wells, where we go over the latest recruiting news. Recruiting is in full force. Players are on spring break. They're making spring college visits, and we've got the latest on some of the big ones to know. Of course, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you have not done so already, head to InsideTexas.com. You can get 4 months of access for just $1. It is March 28th. That'll get you through July 28th. That means you get July decisions and all the intel. It means you get June official visits and all the intel. May posturing, positioning, and April visits as well. All the latest stuff, the best team insider intel from spring practice. We just recorded inside the program earlier today with great team notes. And we've even got some hoop scoop up as the Sean Miller era begins. So go to InsideTexas.com, sign up. You can get 4 months for just $1. Today, we will go over a top running back seeing Austin, a 5-star tight end, and Texas growing closer, the very latest on edge recruiting, and trying to figure out if a highly touted Longhorn legacy will see campus. But let's start with the guy that we know is on campus. 2026 Jackson, Alabama running back Xavier Crowell. He was a 2027, has reclassified to 2026. He is in Austin as we're recording this video. And Justin, this one had a little bump in the road when Tashard Choice left for the NFL, but now Chad Scott's got the Longhorns back involved in this one.
Yeah, so when Crowell was in the class of 2027, he was the top target on the Horns big board for running backs, and for good reason. I mean, it only takes about 5 seconds to realize how incredibly talented this guy is. And so he's always been on the Texas radar. He really liked Tashard Choice, but like you said, he took it up north to the Motor City to hang out with Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. And so immediately Crowell decided, you know what, Texas is out for me. I'm gonna look at some other spots. It was pretty abrupt. And then Chad Scott was hired. And then within a few days, not only was the official visit back on, but this unofficial visit for 2.5 days was set. He landed yesterday. He told me about 2:30 in Austin. Hanging out with Trey Wisner, to me, is not only brilliant, but it's perfect. I can't think of a better example of someone to kind of be hanging out with. He's already at the facilities this morning. Look, this one's going to be tough no matter what. Alabama and Auburn are the lead dogs here. Pulling him out of that state is going to be a tall task. But Texas, that's what they do. They have zero problems or hesitation going through there. Understand, Scott's from the Southeast region, a lot like some of these other guys. And so he's got some familiarity in those parts. Crowell is very interested in Texas for the most likely reason. Bijan Robinson, Rashawn Johnson, Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue, Trey Wisner, it's all there in front of you. They produce running backs every year. This offense loves them. And so Crowell's giving them a good college try, in my opinion. Again, this is going to be a tough battle. Texas is in great spot with some other backs in 2026 that are highly ranked. KJ Edwards, of notable name, Amari Latimer. But listen, Crowell is just different. This is an elite guy. This is a guy that could come in and probably play pretty early. Even being a reclassified kid, he's got almost a college-ready body and mindset. And so getting him back on campus was big. Chad Scott is going to shoot his shot here. He understands it could be tough. Like, again, Auburn and Alabama are going to be the ones, I think, and Georgia's, pushing themselves into this as well. But let's see what he says after a couple of days in Austin. This is something he had been waiting for a while. He's going to be able to really, this is better than the half junior day type event, because he's going to be all over town for a few days. And this is when we get a real good sense if he's feeling that vibe, and then you move forward into the summer official visit and maybe start to push, or if he's not feeling it and you you allocate those resources somewhere else. Either way, Chad Scott got this thing back on track, and now all he's got to do is pick up the slack.
As we say, recruits are narrowing their focus. Schools are narrowing their focus as well. That's not as easy to say as I thought it would be. One thing that's pretty easy to say is that Mark Bowman is really good at playing football. He's also a reclassified player as well. Went from 2027 to 2026 at Mater Dei That's Chris Jackson's alma mater. But this is going to be a recruitment that Jeff Banks and Steve Sarkisian take point on. And so far, seems like there's been a lot of good things to report with Bowman and the Longhorns.
Yeah, Texas and Bowman are in a great spot. Now, listen, like we said with Crowell, Bowen was the top target on the big board for 2027 tight ends, and it wasn't close. There was not a close second, okay? He's that special. I hate throwing comps at these kids, but this is George Kittle-looking stuff here, okay? Like, Mark Bowen is different. He gets to 2026, his ranking doesn't change. He just skipped classes, and and he skips a year like it's nothing. Mark Bowen is a freak. They're getting him in this weekend, and that's big because everybody wants him. USC and Oregon are probably the two teams that I think Texas is going to have their toughest battle, the toughest competitors. But he's just a special kid. We got to see him last weekend at OT7, and he just talks up Texas. He has ties to the state. He has family that went to UT. He has people in the state that he's grown up around. And plus, like you said, Jeff Banks has been on this kid, I felt like, since 8th grade. Like, this kid was identified back when they went to go see Spencer Shannon the first few times and Brandon Baker in the next cycle. Like, you just knew he was the next one up. And then once he reclassified, he became the priority. Texas wants 2 tight ends in this cycle. I think that's an important factor. And Mark Bowen has to be one of them. This is one of those guys. Texas, every cycle has about 4 or 5 must-haves. Mark Bowen is in this category. Not just that. And the coolest thing about Bowen, he is paying full attention to Texas. The first thing you ask him about the Horns, he brings up Jatavian Sanders and Gunnar Helm. The success those guys have had over the last 2 or 3 years in Austin is a big factor as well. Again, he's talking to Spencer Shannon, a fellow teammate former teammate at Mater Dei who plays tight end in Austin. He gets the scoop on all that he needs to know. So I can't wait to see Mark on Saturday because I know he's excited to be back in Austin, but also I want to see where he's at in his decision making. If there's one thing I want to ask him, he's going to take his officials in June. He'll be in Texas for, I believe, June 6th through the 8th for his OV. Where's his decision timeline, things of that sort. But right now, the Horns are in a tremendous spot with Bowman. I would venture as far as to say I think the Horns probably lead, but this race is just really going.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor. That is Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's L-U-X-E. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Continue on the defensive side of the football. We're going to talk about one position here. That is edge recruiting. We're going to go look to the West Coast. We're going to look in the Southeast. But let's go out to California first. You got some tidbits on Richard Wesley. We're talking about another reclassified guy, another kid going from 2027 to 2026 from Sierra Canyon High School out in California. What's the latest with him before we head over to Mississippi and talk about another guy? He didn't reclassify, finally, someone who's true to his grade. But what's the latest on Richard Wesley as we look at edge recruiting in the 2026 class?
Yeah, all these reclassifications, all they do is remind me about July 1st. I think that's the most the most telling about all these kids. Look, Richard Wesley's a freak. Now, look, the further away you get from the line of scrimmage, the easier it is to reclassify, okay? When you get on the line of scrimmage, guys, that's tough because the physicality and the size and the development of the other guys is just so much a bigger gap. Richard Wesley is not going to be denied. This kid is special. Look, Texas has 3 official visitors total at the edge position in June. They have about 40 guys that are coming in. And that shows you, just like you were talking about earlier, they have narrowed down their focus. And that's the fun part about edge recruiting is I think that number is going to be 2 in this class, but they have such a great mixture on campus right now, and veterans, young talent, and the freshmen that came in. They're going to be really judicious with who they take. And that's why that's why Richard Wesley and Jalen McCoy are so important. Wesley's special. He's going to take some extra development once he gets in college. I mean, that's obvious when you're playing that position, but he's already physically strong. He's already kind of developed. He's very mature for his age. This kid, I think, has a wide open recruitment. I know USC is going to be tough. I know they're in there, UCLA as well. But and I think there's some SEC schools and also Ohio State trying to get in the mix. But for this kid, I think he's wide open. And I think this reclassification kind of levels the playing field. I don't think there's one school or another. This is Texas' opportunity to make an impression. Also, he's got a teammate, Haven Finney, also reclassified for class of 2027, class of 2026. Haven Finney is also ready and prepared. We got to hang out with him 2 weeks ago at OT7. That kid could not stop talking about the DB room at Texas. Ja'Day Barron and Andrew Makuba and those guys have really got his attention. And so Wesley and those guys are talking to each other. They come from the land of Brawny. And so those are teammates that are on the same page. I think they're talking up Texas a little bit. I can't wait to see Finney on there. I can't wait to meet Wesley on Saturday. Jaraylon McCoy's the one from Tupelo, Mississippi. And the best thing about Jaraylon McCoy for Texas fans is that Texas wasn't even in his top schools list. It was A&M. And then all of a sudden he decided to take A&M out of the list and put Texas in their place, and also switched his official visit weekend. The same exact weekend, he decided, I don't need to see College Station after all. I can hit Austin about 2 hours more north and be just fine. I know Texas fans will enjoy that tidbit. Look, Jaraylon McCoy is going to be one. He's going to be tough to pull out of the SEC. Like Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Auburn, they're in the mix. Ole Miss is going to throw out a bag. We know that, the Lane Kiffin style. Jaraylon McCoy is going to be a guy that people like. And that tells you something. If Texas is bringing an edge guy on campus, he's pretty valuable because they're just not recruiting a lot of them. They've barely offered very many in this cycle. And it just shows you how healthy that room is right now. And so I like that we put them both in the same category because, again, edge recruiting is kind of fascinating to me in 2026. There's only going to be a couple guys in this class that they get, and they're going to be very particular about that. And as they should. Last year, I think, was the first year in the PK era that we saw them absolutely tagging the quarterback on a Saturday-to-Saturday basis. They had been getting closer and closer over the last few years. But this last season, the emergence of Ethan Burke and Colin Simmons and those guys, Trey Moore getting better every week. Edge recruiting is going to be fun in 2026. It begins with Jaraylon McCoy, Richard Wesley, and the third guy, if you were wondering, is the kid out of Georgia, Kamari Brooks.
I think I found from Gators Online, our Florida site on On3, that McCoy plans to decide on July 10th. So it definitely seems like someone who's going to take his official visits. Who knows what happens?
Florida is in that one big too. He loves the Gators.
But when you have someone declaring a date for their decision, they typically try to get to that point. It can change. Right. But when you have someone say, I'm going to this date, it's hard for those kids to move off of that public declaration unless there's some other factors. Finally.
Often it's mom or dad basically saying, get a date.
Yep.
Set a date. Yeah. Because at some point, I promise you, in all these recruitments, mom and dad are wore out. And so sometimes when you see a date come out, that's because mama called him into the living room the night before and said, time to figure stuff out.
Exactly. Last but certainly not least, we got to talk about someone I plan to see over the course of this weekend competing at Texas Relays. And if you are competing, if you're a high school athlete competing at Texas Relays, you are able to visit the host institution on a day you're not competing. Jalen Lott, the high four-star corner from Frisco Panther Creek, I think he's competing both days. So if he does want to see Texas, it'll have to be on Sunday. Of course, Steve Sarkisian and company would welcome him over. We'll see if he makes it. We'll find out that answer. But that would be big, Justin, if they were able to get him to come across the street from Mike Myers Stadium and check out the football facility because they're in a pretty I was going to say a pretty big battle, but I think a nice little track meet with another well-known track and field school for Jalen Lott services.
I like that. They are in a track meet. Look, we talked earlier about when Tashard Choice left and kind of the scramble Texas had at that position in recruiting. The same thing happened in the DB room. It's a scramble with the new coaches, Mark Orfe and Dwayne Akina. Look, Jalen Lott was really close to Terry Joseph, to the point he was probably going to commit in the spring. That's if that wasn't news already, it is now. He was super, super close to Joseph, especially over the last year. They love him at cornerback, even though he's getting some wide receiver looks. But they're in scramble mode because now they're having to restart these relationships. Now, I believe Lott has had a previous relationship with Orfe a little bit and with Akina a little bit, but not in the detail that you want to this point. Now, that's starting to happen. You know, Orfe is definitely focusing on this kid, and I think Akina is also lending in. Kenoto Hudson, another one of the DB coaches at Texas, he's been instrumental in a lot of these guys, and so I want to make sure he gets noticed and recognized. Jalen Lott, he was to me, it was close to a sure thing about 3 or 4 months ago. Now it's wide open. It's wide open. He's been on record saying, hey, I can commit to Oregon at any time. And, of course, that will throw Texas fans into a slight PTSD when it comes to recruiting over the last 3 or 4 years. Either way, it is a track meet. Jalen's a special kid. Like, I love this guy because he is probably one of the safest takes in the class of 2026. No matter what happens, no matter how good he is, he's going to be pretty good at the least. He's going to be incredible in the locker room, unbelievable in the classroom. He's just been raised properly. Unbelievable parents. Obviously, his father, James Lott, former Texas Longhorn. I believe he ran track and played football for the Horns in the early 80s. And so there's that Texas tie. And that's always going to be, substantial, especially when the Horns are doing really well in the college football landscape. But again, this coaching change kind of ruffled this recruitment up, whereas with some recruitments, it kind of straightened things out. With this one, it's all over the road. Getting him back on campus is going to be big. Just to get that face-to-face. They talk on the phone all the time. It's the face-to-face, eye-to-eye contact that really matters. And I think once he sees Orfe and Akina in the same room together, listen, Dwayne Akina is tough to say no to, okay? He is tough. He's one of the best recruiters we've ever come across in this job. And so I'm curious to see what Jalen thinks after seeing those guys. And so, and I love the fact that you're going to be down there today getting to see him compete. And we'll get a little bit more clarity on if he's able to come over and hit the facility, because I believe he wants to. And I think his family does too. But right now, he's going to be competing today and doing his thing. He is special on the track, just like he is on the football field. Texas loves him. He's a priority. They love him at corner. That's the spot. Everyone, there's so many publications that have him at receiver, and he could play receiver at the next level. Look, he could play receiver in college, or he can play corner in the NFL. And I promise you, he's probably going to play corner in the NFL. Jalen Lott is a safe take. I want to hear him talk Akina and Orfe in person sometime Saturday afternoon.
Thinking back, we've covered relays, probably going on 10 years now.
Yeah.
From the recruiting perspective. And for guys if they're in this situation or if they're competing on one day, it's a matter of want to. If you really want to go and visit the Longhorns football offices, you make the time for it. If you're not interested remember, we talked to the Idaho wide receiver, Gatlin Bear, who had Oregon and Boise State and TCU and a lot of big
Michigan.
national programs after him. It's very unique. If you're from Idaho, you're probably not making your way back to Austin unless you really want to see Texas again. And he didn't go, I don't think he went across the street. That says a lot. Whereas you've got some guys, I'm trying to think of what's a really good example. You often see signees, but they get to do that, and most of the classes enrolled already. So that's a factor. So that we won't see this weekend. I'm just trying to think of a name off the top of my head that went across the street.
Darian Gillette.
Say again.
Darian Gillette.
There we go.
One of the biggest parts of his recruitment was his meeting after the track meet, after the Texas relays. He went over, got to chat with them for about 30 minutes, really hit home, went home, came back like 4 days later for an unscheduled spring visit, watching practice, and they wrapped him up within 2 weeks after that. I think he committed in late July, early August. But there's more examples of that, and you're right. It's about about going over there and seeing that. And I guarantee you, Jalen Lott has that want to. He wants to go over there and just touch base with those guys. And if I'm the Texas staff, I'm doing whatever I can to get him over there. And they're going to have staffers helping out because they're going to have practice Saturday.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of moving parts. But that's what you want to see. And if I'm Jalen Lott, that's what I want to see. When you ask Crowell, what do you want to see in Austin? He said, I want to see a practice. Yeah. Mark Bowen, what are you looking forward to seeing? I want to see what the tight ends look like at practice. If Jalen Lott can get over and catch a practice, that to me is the most ideal situation. Again, it looks like Oregon is kind of pushed ahead to the lead in this recruitment. I don't think it's anywhere near done, but Texas has some slack to make up. And the way to do it, have a Texas relay, have a national track meet in your backyard and have them walk across the street when they're done running.
Why do you think Mike A. Myers Stadium holds 20,000 people to host this, to host national titles, to host stuff like that? And it helps Texas. And the last thing, I think there's sometimes that we just take recruiting terms for granted. We're around it so much. Why is coming to see a practice so important? What are you doing most of the time? What are you doing Monday through Friday? You're there in football practice. You're there with the coaches. That's how you get developed into being a Saturday player.
They also see themselves.
Correct.
Like if they can see themselves watching practice, they can see themselves at the college level. That's a whole different mindset.
Exactly. So it's a little bit more revealing of what the daily life will be like. The official visits, the wining and dining, not real wine, but the rolling out the red carpet, that type of thing. This is the best of us. This is everything that it could be and is and has potential to be. Coming and seeing practice. And it's a little bit of a reward. You are good enough to get this official visit. That's why it's kind of cool that you get to go on more than 5, that you get to relish the experience. But coming to a practice, that's because you are paying your way to see it. These are unofficial visits, and you want to see what the daily life is going to be like during the season. Very important stuff that we'll be tracking, and we'll find out more about Jalen Lott's answer. To get the answer, once I hopefully get it today or tomorrow, head to InsideTexas.com. You can get 4 months of access for just $1. You heard us talk about all these visits. Those are going to go all the way through Texas Fan Day on the 26th. So we'll have lists, intel. May, you will hear about posturing for official visits. Official visits will show up in June, and then we will have intel and decisions in July. So get those 4 months. You'll be good until the end of July. And by that time, we'll have team notes. They'll probably be preparing for the season and the season opener against Ohio State in camp. You're not going to want to miss it. Justin, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.